2026 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1X. Stop scrolling. This is the Corvette that changes the conversation. Meet the 2026 Corvette ZR1X, a 250 horsepower electrified hypervet that pairs a twin-turbo V8 with an electric front motor, EAWD, and race car scale aero. Chevrolet calls it an electrified hypercar, and honestly, when you read the spec sheet, it's hard to argue. Today I'll walk you through everything: the hardware, how GM stitched hybrid tech to a ferocious LT7 V8, what it means on track and street, and whether this monster actually makes sense for buyers. Buckle up. The ZR1X is spectacle turned into engineering. If you want raw American power combined with electrified traction and modern aerodynamics, this is a headline car. It's loud, fast, and designed to humiliate stoplights and scare hypercars. But it's also surprisingly clever under the skin. There are trade-offs: complexity, cost, and the usual service considerations. But for anyone chasing headline performance, the ZR1X is as real as it gets. What Chevrolet actually claims. Chevrolet's headline numbers are savage. A mid-mounted LT7 twin-turbo V8, making 1,064 HP, plus an electrified front axle unit adding roughly 186 HP. Chevrolet markets that as 1,150 combined horsepower. GM estimates 0 to 60 in under 2.0 seconds, and an estimated quarter mile in under 9 seconds. The ZR1X uses electrified all-wheel drive derived from the E-Ray system and is slated to be available late 2025 into 2026, with base pricing that puts it squarely in high-end supercar territory. Those are GM's numbers. Always treat manufacturer figures as the starting line, not the finish. Design and aero. Look at the ZR1X and you can see the brief, zero compromise aero. The body is heavily reworked compared with lesser Corvettes. Wider fenders, massive carbon panels, huge brake cooling ducts, and a rear diffuser that looks more prototype than production. The rear wing is large and functional. The splitter and dive planes in front are tuned to generate downforce at speed, while channeling heat away from the twin turbos and brakes. Chevrolet applied lessons from GT racing. When you see those gaping vents and winglets, they're not stylistic flourishes. They're working parts. The result is a car that looks like it wants to bite asphalt and never let go. Interior and tech. Inside, the ZR1X brings race data to a production cockpit. Performance displays, telemetry screens, driver-selectable power modes, and a focus on ergonomics that support track use. Expect bolstered seats, a driver display with live power and torque readouts, and multiple configurable maps. Materials are race-influenced but finished to a high level. Alcantara, exposed carbon and metal mesh, plus trim choices aimed at collectors who want both function and flash. Chassis and structural choices. To manage that power, Chevy rethought the Corvette's packaging. The ZR1X retains a mid-engine layout, but adds electrification up front and upgrades the transaxle layout to improve balance. Expect reinforced subframes, upgraded mounts, and targeted weight savings where possible. Carbon fiber is used in bodywork and aero pieces, and suspension components are race-grade. The aim is twofold: handle the thermal and mechanical loads of repeated hot laps and keep the car tidy and composed at very high speeds. That means plenty of cooling plumbing and a chassis built to tolerate enormous downforce loads without flex. Powertrain. The heart is still a combustion masterpiece. The LT7 twin-turbo V8, high revs, high boost, delivering over 1,000 HP on its own. On top of that, the ZR1X borrows and improves the E-Ray's front electric drive tech, a compact motor and inverter that can add quick bursts of power and, crucially, instant front-end traction. When combined, the system allows torque vectoring strategies that mechanical drivetrains can't match. The hybrid front motor reduces wheel spin off the line, complements the V8 in mid-range pushes, and allows the combined system to deliver phenomenal straight-line acceleration while still giving the driver a throttle feel that's unmistakably Corvette. Transmission cooling and real-world use. Expect an upgraded high-torque dual-clutch or race-focused gearbox. The ZR1X needs a trans that can take repeated full throttle runs and a cooling system that can keep temps in check for multiple laps. That's why Chevrolet focused on airflow management and oversized radiators, intercoolers, and brake ducts. The hybrid element adds complexity. Battery, inverter, and motor cooling are all part of the thermal equation. But the benefit is better repeatability. Electrification can smooth torque delivery and reduce the likelihood of heat-related power cuts. Driving impressions. Step on it and the effect is immediate. A shove that starts with electric traction and is followed by the V8's thunder. Launches will be savage and predictable because the front electric motor reduces wheel spin and the electronics orchestrate power delivery. On track, the ZR1X should feel planted at speed thanks to its aero, and the hybrid torque fill will make mid-corner exits brutal, in a good way. The sound will be Ultra V8 at cruise and monstrous underboost. The experience is meant to be visceral, not sterile. Performance focus. GM's sub 2.0 second 0 to 60 claim is headline-grabbing and achievable, with electrified AWD, if traction control, tires, and launch control all cooperate. The sub 9 second quarter-mile claim follows from the power and gearing. More interesting is that the ZR1X is targeted at sustained performance. Large aero and robust cooling suggest GM expects it to perform consistently over multiple laps. A different emphasis than one hot lap and we're done. Combined power plus aero implies excellent straight-line pace and strong mid-range acceleration. Electrification. Benefits and challenges. Electrified front drive gives instant torque and traction, but it also adds weight. GM counters that with carbon parts and careful packaging. The hybrid system also improves drivability. Torque vectoring, more precise throttle mapping, and the ability to modulate power for better control on corner exit. However, complexity increases warranty and service considerations. Owners will have to weigh the performance gains against long-term costs. Practicality. You can drive a ZR1X on the street, but it's clearly designed for track days and special events. Ride height, wing size, and noise alone make everyday errands less appealing. Most buyers will trailer their cars to the track, which is exactly what Chevrolet expects. If you want the purest everyday supercar, this isn't it. If you want the most extreme Corvette you can legally drive, the ZR1X fits that bill. Price, availability, and limited editions. Chevy has positioned the ZR1X as a high-end limited item. Pricing announcements late in 2025 put base pricing in the mid to high six-figure territory for limited editions and special trims. There are convertible options and special packages like the Quail Silver Limited Edition, shown at Monterey Car Week, which push price further. If you want one, be prepared for allocation lists, dealer markup dynamics, and limited production windows. Ownership and running costs. This car eats tires and brakes if you use it as intended. Hybrid systems add another layer of maintenance complexity. Insurance costs will be high. Service intervals for track use owners are more frequent. But a lot of buyers in this segment expect that as part of the hobby, these cars are bought for experience more than daily utility. Competition and context. The ZR1X enters a field where Europe sets many benchmark times, but its spec sheet puts it squarely in conversation with hypercars costing far more. The electric assistance and massive torque make it a unique American answer to hybrid and high-output European rivals. It's not about being the most refined. It's about making a statement with brutal performance and new tech. Final verdict. The ZR1X is Chevrolet throwing down the gauntlet. It proves American manufacturers can combine V8 drama and electrified torque to create a hybridized hypervet that competes with the best. If you want theatrics and unapologetic acceleration with real engineering behind it, the ZR1X is a once-in-a-generation Corvette. If you want something quieter, simpler, or cheaper, the standard ZR1 or other sports cars will be more sensible. But, as a statement of capability, the ZR1X delivers in a very loud, very fast way. Which piece of the ZR1X do you want to see next? A deep tech teardown, a drag strip demo, or an onboard lap with telemetry? Drop it in the comments and I'll make it happen. 2026 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. Now this is the Corvette that reminded the world America still builds extreme V8s. Meet the 2026 Corvette ZR1, a mid-engine twin-turbo V8 apex predator that redefines what a factory Corvette can do. It's the LT7 twin-turbo V8, raucous aero, and a chassis tuned to wrestle serious lap times. Today I'll break down the meat of the ZR1, what the engine does, how the aero works, what the cockpit is like, and why this model matters to drivers who want driver-focused speed without hybrid complexity. The ZR1 is the pure engine answer, a GT-grade, twin-turbo Corvette that makes no apology for being loud, fast, and engineered for performance. It's simpler in concept than the ZR1X's hybrid lash-up, but it's brutally effective. If you want raw power, race-oriented aero, and a car that still feels mechanical and direct, the ZR1 is the prime choice. Chevrolet's headline specs. Chevrolet's published numbers for the ZR1 are aggressive. The LT7 twin-turbo flat-plane crank V8 produces around 164 horsepower and 828 lb-ft of torque per SAE certification. GM estimates 0-60 around 2.3 seconds in high quarter-mile and top speed targets that put the car into supercar territory. Again, those are factory numbers for a production car that's been engineered for extreme performance. Design and aero. The ZR1 is built around downforce and cooling. From the front splitter to the rear diffuser, everything is tuned to produce high-speed stability. The fixed rear wing sits high and creates big rear downforce, while NACA ducts and precision vents extract hot air from the engine bay and brake housings. The bodywork uses carbon fiber across critical panels, and the visual language is aggressive but precise. It signals performance rather than show. Interior and tech. Inside, the ZR1 takes a performance-centric approach without being Spartan. Expect a driver display focused on lap data, a robust infotainment stack, and bolstered seats. Some updates include performance screens and an optioned triple display layout in certain trims that show telemetry and engine metrics. Materials mix carbon, Alcantara, and leather. Functional but high quality. Engine and power delivery. The LT7 is the headline. A 5.5-liter, twin-turbocharged, DOHC flat-plane crank V8 designed for monstrous power and razor-sharp throttle response. Unlike many modern turbos, this engine is designed to rev and breathe in a way that feels connected to the driver. Turbo lag is minimized via engineering choices, and the power curve is tuned to be usable on road and track. That 1,064 HP figure is historically significant. It's among the strongest outputs for a production V8 ever offered. Transmission and driveline. Chevrolet pairs the LT7 to a race-grade transaxle and performance transmission packages capable of handling extreme outputs. Gear ratios, final drive, and cooling are all calibrated to manage that massive torque. For buyers, that means repeatable runs without the gearbox getting overwhelmed, provided service intervals and maintenance are respected. Chassis, suspension, and brakes. The ZR1's chassis upgrades are serious. Enhanced subframes, track geometry, and giant carbon ceramic brakes with multi-piston calipers. Packages designed to dissipate heat and maintain performance over repeated laps. The suspension uses adjustable dampers and carefully tuned anti-roll strategies to support both high downforce track work and capable road manners at lower speeds. The brakes and cooling systems are oversized because this car is expected to be pushed hard. Driving impressions. Drive the ZR1 and the story is immediacy. The twin turbos deliver a tide of torque. The handling wants corner speed, and the brakes haul you down with confidence. The character is visceral. You get sound, feedback, and an engine that feels engineered to be exploited. Compared with the Hybrid X, the ZR1 is more straightforward. Fewer systems to manage, a direct combustion feel, and an emphasis on driver control, track behavior, and lap performance. On the track, the ZR1 is built to perform. Large aero gives stability. The engine supplies sustained power, and the suspension geometry is designed for repeated hot laps. Official and verified lap times will depend on track, tires, and driver, but the ZR1's hardware and cooling package are definitely aimed at delivering consistent performance. For drivers chasing lap times, the ZR1 is a strong contender in its class. Usability and daily driving. Unlike more extreme track specials, the ZR1 still aims to be somewhat usable. The ride is firm, but the car is drivable for short trips and events. Fuel economy is obviously low when you exploit the power, and the noise and ride will be reminders that this car prefers performance over comfort. Still, compared to competition in the upper echelons, the ZR1 is one of the more usable high-end supercars for regular driving when you pick your roads carefully. Price, availability, and variance. Chevrolet released the ZR1 as a halo, and depending on trim and options, including ZTK aero packages or special interior themes, pricing varies but remains premium. Order books and allocations vary by market, so buyers should expect dealer pre-orders and limited production runs for certain editions. Ownership and running costs. This car is powerful. That power costs money. Consumables, high-grade fuels, frequent brake and tire service if tracked, and insurance will all cost a premium. However, for a buyer intent on performance, these are expected. The ZR1 tends to hold desirability among collectors, and the engineering pedigree makes it a logical purchase for someone prioritizing lap performance without hybrid complexity. Competition and context. The ZR1 squares up against high-end European sports cars and some limited supercars. Compared with the hybrid ZR1X, it's simpler, but no less fast. The question buyers will ask is choice. Raw combustion fury, ZR1, or hybridized torque plus traction spectacle, ZR1X. Both have merits. The ZR1 is the purist's pick. The final verdict, the 2026 Corvette ZR1 is a statement that American combustion engineering is still alive and ferocious. It's the purist's super vet. No hybrid theatrics, just raw power, refined aero, and an intent to perform. If you want a more straightforward, brutally honest supercar experience with a V8 at its heart, the ZR1 will satisfy. Which one would you pick? The raw V8 purity of the ZR1 or the hybrid hyperdrive of the ZR1X? Drop your choice in the comments and tell me what track you'd take it to first.